What's wrong, baby?
Meanwhile...
Yeah, we showed up to that party.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Will, and I'm back to do another retro review. Now, with the MCU about to debut their version of The Blade starring Mahershala Ali next year, I figured let's take a look at the granddaddy of them all. That's right, I'm here to give my retro review for 1998's Blade starring Wesley Snipes, Stephen Dorff, and Chris Christopherson. Before I talk about the movie, I would just like to say thank you so much for checking out this video, and if you happen to be new to the channel, I welcome you to this channel and to the absurdity and partial inebriation that comes with it. I do movie reviews, trailer reactions, some gaming, some drinking, whole lot of geekiness. So if that happens to be your bag and you're interested from a Geeky Bears perspective, why not subscribe to the channel? I'm on the road to 500 subscribers this year, so I would love to have you join the channel. Basically, I think that, yeah, I'd love to have you subscribe and maybe check out some other videos on the channel. But let's talk about Blade. So Blade takes place in a city. Basically, he is on a mission to eliminate the vampire threat that is gripping the world. And in the course of it, he is looking for the vampire who killed his mother and basically made him who he is. Along the way, he meets up with Dr. Karen, I forget her last name, but she is also attacked by a vampire, and she is our entry point into this world where Blade and his partner Whistler are trying to stop the vampire scourge, most notably Deacon Frost, who is played by Stephen Dorff, who is our main antagonist of the movie. And there's some action, there's some blood, there's some head exploding all over the place, exploding. You get the idea. Not many people know this, but when Blade came out in theaters, it is what saved Marvel from bankruptcy because it was the first successful Marvel movie, but the movie didn't actually market itself as a Marvel movie. I mean, most people didn't even know that Blade was a superhero or even from a comic book when they first went to go see the movie. They just thought, you know, Wesley Snipes doing Wesley Snipes stuff. And that's what this movie really is. It is a pretty hardcore action movie. It is rated R, so there's plenty of blood and guts in the movie. And it's actually kind of fun. I mean, it's a fun movie. I haven't seen it in a while, and my husband actually hadn't seen it until tonight, so it was interesting to see his reaction to it. But it is very much of its time. But a lot of the fight sequences in the movie do hold up very, very well. Of course, it is Wesley Snipes. He is very much the type of actor who loves to get involved into the choreography and the stunt work of his movies. So he is very much doing most of the action in this movie, and it shows. The dialogue is debatable in certain points because he is just throwing out those one-liners in this movie, and it's really funny.
You use me as bait?
Get over it. There are worse things out tonight than vampires.
Like what?
Like me. We're not exactly the March of Dimes. It's fake.
I didn't realize I was going to laugh as much as I did, but I had a really good time revisiting the movie. But it's also one of the original comic book movies that really were successful. I mean, the movie had about a $45 million budget, and it came out with like a little over $130 million. So it wasn't a flop. It was actually very successful. And I know we always talk about Black Panther being the first real like black-led comic book movie, but there were other ones before, especially, you know, most people forget Blade was one of the first ones. And I don't think we talk about it as much. That the movie itself is actually good. It's not great, but of the three in the trilogy, we won't talk about the second and the third one, but of the three, I mean, the first Blade is actually pretty solid. It's got solid action. It's got solid characters. I mean, they're very basic archetypes except for Blade. I mean, the relationship between Blade and Whistler is very much kind of like a surrogate father-son relationship, since Whistler found him at a very young age and raised him and trained him, and that's how he became the badass kicker that he had become. Wouldn't really believe it when you look at Whistler, but that's how it happened. Karen, sorry, I don't remember the actress's name, but it's right here. She is our entry point into this world, so she's really the one that's being exposed to it. Obviously, she's attacked, and the hospital scene at the beginning is still funny to me.
Freeze! Motherfucker, are you out of your damn mind?
I mean, but even before that, the whole bloodbath scene, the beginning of the movie with the nightclub and the bloodbath, I mean, that's a great scene. It's still really kind of badass how he just appears and takes down all the vampires that want to step up to him in this fight sequence. But the fight sequences are really great. The other characters are very kind of one note. Even Frost, played by Stephen Dorff, he is the villain, and he's very much megalomaniac 101 when it comes to this type of movie or type of character. But again, it's campy fun. Like, it's still kind of campy to me. Like, it's not a movie that you take super duper seriously, but there are moments where they try to be super serious, and does it work? It's kind of hit or miss for me in terms of the serious moments, but the moments when it is just unapologetically an action movie are some of the funniest ones. The one-liners, albeit very campy by Wesley Snipes, are very entertaining. I mean, they're really good. Some you can tell he ad-libbed. Like, that was not in the script.
Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
I'm pretty sure nobody was going to tell him otherwise. The special effects. It's a late 90s movie. Special effects are special effects. They work. They were fine for what they were. But the reason I did want to revisit Blade was because it's actually a lot of fun. It's a fun movie. We're not talking about Oscar-worthy performances, but everyone does a pretty bang-up job. And this is also before I think Wesley Snipes kind of got overplaying the character. I mean, if you look at the sequels, you could tell he checked out by the third one. But this first one, he was very committed and very into the role. And I could be wrong. Maybe this is my interpretation, but when I remember Blade Trinity, he really was checked out of that movie. Like, he really wasn't, like, in the movie. He was this guy. I mean, he's in the movie, but he wasn't, like, in the movie. Like, this one, he's in it. Like, he's in it to win it in this movie. And you can tell just based off his performance, the action sequences, the fight choreography, all that stuff was, like, really good, especially for late 90s action. Like, it really held up pretty well. Not taking the sequels into account, the first one is still, like, holds up really, really well. Like, in terms of, like, an action movie. And maybe at the time, if you had marketed it as a comic book movie, it would probably have not gotten as many eyes on it as just marketing it as a vampire movie, which it was. But it also showed the potential of what comic book movies could do, where they don't have to always be what you see on the page. I mean, obviously, they made a lot of changes from the character's original inception for the movie, and now the movie really informed what a lot of the future iterations of the character was going to be going forward in the comics. So the version that we're probably going to get with Mahershala Ali is going to most likely pay homage not only to the comic version that we've had over the last 10-15 years, but also to this version of Blade from the 98 movie. So it's kind of like this weird full circle type thing, which is really, really interesting, actually, when you think about it, because no one else has portrayed Blade on camera since Wesley Snipes. That's going to be interesting to see what his take is going to be and how they're going to integrate it into the larger MCU. So that's why I kind of wanted to revisit this movie, because this was well before the time of our large, ever-expanding universes of comic book movies, where this was just a one-time movie that ended up getting sequels, and they were just in this little bubble. But there's no more bubbles anymore. They're all big, sprawling epics, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. So it's always good to revisit some of the ones that just started off small. And small is always kind of good sometimes. In certain aspects. You get it. But I feel like I'm rambling. Am I rambling? I'm probably rambling. Surprisingly, a lot of the movie holds up pretty well. Technology and stuff doesn't. A lot of special effects are very of their age, but some of the prosthetics and things like that hold up really well. Like the big overweight vampire that's in the archive scene. That I think part of that is prosthetics and part of it's CG, but it actually holds up pretty well. It's not out of place. But when you get to like the third act with the whole blood god stuff, that's where it really gets like final boss video game level of graphics for like late 90s. It has its moments, but I did and still do enjoy Blade. I think the first movie, it holds up surprisingly well, albeit the graphics don't hold up as well. I think Wesley Snipes killed it as the character, and I can see why they really haven't tried to touch the character again in so long, because he did kind of put his stamp on it. He did kind of make the character his own. And it's pretty impressive, albeit, like I said, we're not counting the sequels as much, but the first movie really did it saved Marvel from bankruptcy, and that's a fact. I mean, it is the granddaddy of comic book movies. It's up there, honestly, with your Batman and your Supermans in terms of the importance to the comic book movies that we have today. And I think it doesn't get talked about enough, and it should be in those conversations. In terms of movie quality, does it hold up to like a Tim Burton Batman? Not necessarily as much, but it's still equally as important for what it did for not only the industry, but for Marvel as a whole. And I think it should get, at least the first movie, should get a little bit more conversation talking about it than it does. So I think if you haven't in a while, revisit Blade. I'd highly recommend checking out the first Blade. It's rated R. It definitely doesn't pull any punches. So yeah, there's a lot of blood. I forgot how much blood was in this movie. So that is going to be my look back or retro review of Blade. Let me know what your thoughts are on some of your favorite scenes or lines or things from the movie. Or do you think the sequels are as good as the first one? Do you think they're better? Let me know that in the comments. As always, thank you so much for checking out this and all of my videos. I really do appreciate it. And thanks for sticking around through the rambling as well. Again, if you were new and this was your first time and you happen to enjoy this video, apologies for sweating a lot because I turned the fan down. Subscribe to the channel if you'd like. Trying to get to 500 subscribers this year. Help a brother out. I'd appreciate it. I love you forever if you do. You can follow me on a lot of different social media platforms listed at the end of this video. I have a ton of videos on the channel right now that you're more than welcome to check out. Like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And as always, until next time, I will catch you later. Hey, thanks for watching this video. If you did like this video, why not give me a thumbs up and share it with your friends? You can subscribe to the channel by clicking on my gorgeous little face right over there. You can follow me on all the various social media platforms right below. And last but certainly not least, if you've got a few extra minutes, why not check out one of the lovely videos floating right over here. Later.